game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Happy Taco Tuesday, Tampa Tuesday. Tampa Tones here on the Buccateers on a Tuesday, a Tune Me Up Tuesday, as we get ready for a big showdown with one of the Bucs' biggest rivals outside of the NFC South. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams will be heading into the matchup at 2-1. And for those of you who live under a rock, yes, the Buccaneers dropped this past weekend's game to the Denver Broncos. We're going to go over Bucs Broncos a little bit, then start getting our toes wet for Bucs Eagles, injury report, and so much more, as we are joined by the great J-Lo in the house. J-Lo, how the hell you doing, brother? Welcome into another Buccateers. I hope you're doing better than the Bucs did this past Sunday, my friend.
Oh, yeah, man. It was pretty much hangover Monday for me, man. That was a tough loss, man. You know, I really had high hopes, for a victory, but it is what it is. I've moved past that. I'm ready for the next one.
As we are joined on Facebook by WQEE Live. They are a radio station based in Atlanta. We appreciate WQEE tuning in to the program. J-Lo, first and foremost, we're not going to cut short of any punches. Sean Payton against the Buccaneers obviously has his numbers, something we may have overlooked leading up to this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does have our number, especially in top bowls. He had a great game plan developed yet again. He had Bo Nitz and the rest of the team ready to compete. So shout out to the Broncos defense for coming ready to play, get after our quarterback. And then plus, I'm missing our D lineman, man. I'm missing Canty and Vea, man. It goes to show that we got exposed, that we couldn't get zero pressure on Bo Nitz.
Well, and another thing to build off that, J-Lo, I think you make a good point. A, maybe a little bit of exposure, J-Lo, and B, nothing against the Brewers and the Stills and the Greens of the world, J-Lo, but maybe that's why they're practice squad backups and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, they did such a great job against Detroit, on the defense side of the ball, stepping in for Vita Vea. For some reason, we just couldn't get pressure. And I got to tell you, man, Anthony Nelson was a bit downer for me.
Downer. Remember, I said look out for Nelly, play of the game. He could step up. He had two big chances, J-Lo, and he didn't either.
No, but fortunately he didn't. I mean, he had the tackle near the goal line, 4th and goal. He had him. And he got juked out of his shoes.
That one I don't mind as much as the missed sack, because that one, Nelly, don't get me wrong, still not great on Nelly, right? He still should make that play. But at the end of the day, as JT Olson from Bucs Report, shout out, our good friend of the programs, he chats in here with us. He should be on the show one of these upcoming days. But like he pointed out as well, J-Lo, running backs oftentimes beat the edge in those situations. But the point of that is the edge got there, and linebackers or safeties are supposed to come and help. KJ Britt was right there, and then nothing happened to him. His feet were stuck in mud. So agreed that Nelly should have made that play, but on that one in particular, I am more disappointed in KJ Britt.
Yeah, that's another thing. KJ Britt had a bad game. No disrespect to him. I know players are going to have bad games, but he better step it up. And not Dennis is going to come in and take his spot for good. It just depends. I mean, yeah, it was a loss, and hopefully it's a wake-up call loss, knowing that we are very beatable, and to let a team like Denver come into our house and pretty much put us out of our misery. That was pretty horrible. But like I said, one game at a time. You got to move on from it and get prepared for the next one, in which we got a hot Philadelphia team coming in, fresh off a New Orleans Saint victory.
Yeah, they are hot, and they've been playing some really good defense this year. That was almost a score of a baseball game, Saints Eagles, until the end there at least. But J-Lo, I do want to say this: the Bucs are banged up, but the rest of the NFC South is getting banged up alongside the Bucs. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Is when we look around the NFC South, we have the great Christopher Cole in the house, a great Bud Cannabis in the house. He says Zion was a positive. Zion was tremendous, J-Lo. That was one of the few bright spots. As the great Josh Capo from Pewter Report pointed out, Zion played incredible besides one play in the game, but who wouldn't play bad for a play? Usually everybody has an off play in the game. But J-Lo, I do want to point out something. Zion played great, but that doesn't mean her defensive game plan was great. I don't know if it bothered you, J-Lo, but a lot of the times Jamel Dean and company were lined up 8 to 10 yards off of the wide receivers, lined up back. And really that feeds into Bo Nix's game plan because Bo Nix completes a lot of underneath throws, either behind the line or at the line of scrimmage. And when you play 8 to 10 yards off the wide receivers, you're kind of giving him those throws that breads his butter. And the Bucs did seemingly make some second half adjustments on the alignment for the D-backs. But what say you on that, J-Lo? I wasn't a huge fan of at least the first half on how, we were lined up defensively.
No, not at all. I never understand that amount of yards backed up. It just shows that, to me, I feel like they were scared that Dean was going to get beat deep. That's just how I feel about that. I just feel like when you back up that many yards, you're pretty much giving the quarterback a lot of advantage to get the ball out quickly, and then you got to run and go make the tackle quickly. But not on the short yardages, man. I mean, the second and fives or the third and sevens, you just cannot do that. You need to play more closer up, or else you're going to get beat every time on the short passes. I don't know. I just never liked that. It kind of reminds me of the Mike Smith days when he had Vernon Hargraves back in that far deep from the receiver, which drove me nuts. So hopefully they'll adjust that better in the next game.
Yeah, a lot of Mike Smith things drove us nuts. Let's hope that doesn't correlate too much. As Cleve and me says, Happy Tuesday, y'all. Bud Cannibalist says, congrats on the win, Cleve and me, knowing he's a Colts fan. They fought a well-fought battle and upended the Bears on Sunday. Mike was wide-ass open a lot, but Baker had happy feet. Yeah, J-Lo, I want to get into Baker. He obviously has done an incredible job being in Tampa. Had a couple lackluster games in the regular season last year, which included Detroit in the regular season and San Fran in the regular season. This game against Denver reminded me is one of those games. Again, Sean Payton 7-0 against Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator, head coach led Buccaneers teams in the regular season, J-Lo. But at the end of the day, you still would have liked to see more from the Bucs offense and Baker Mayfield. And J-Lo, for whatever reason, we haven't seen this probably since that San Fran game midway through the year last year. But Baker Mayfield did have happy feet. Not only happy feet, though, he was hitching, right? He was kind of going like this a lot and causing a lot of sacks on his own. I think Josh Capo broke down the film tremendously and found out that Baker Mayfield caused 3 sacks on Sunday by himself. J-Lo, you just cannot have that from a quarterback, especially a quarterback you expect a lot of veteranship from, like Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that was about, man. He just wasn't really there on Sunday. After he threw that interception, I knew it was going to be a long game. I mean, usually that's just not a great smart play what he did. Definitely felt the pressure. He missed a few open passes to Mike and Chris. They were wide open, but he held the ball too long. I don't know what was going through his mind. I don't know if he was scared to go get hit or scared to get sacked. Being a quarterback's tough these days. But, hopefully, every quarterback's due for one bad game or two. And I think this is hopefully one of the bad games, even though it was against a Denver Bronco team. But, they were well coached and they were ready for Baker. And hopefully Baker will wake up and get out of the slump he was in. Because to me, I felt like he could have done a lot better. And plus, when you're down by 2 or 3 scores, stop running the ball on first down. That was just ridiculous. You got to get a tempo offense going. And that's another thing I didn't like, to get Baker going. and you run the ball on first down when you're down by 2 or 3 scores. You can't do that in this league.
Yeah, you really can't do that in this league. We've seen it happen with the Bengals too last night. They were running behind and then they ran out of time and they were still running. And it's like, you got to get up tempo a little bit. Bud says almost as if the Lions got Baker not quite trusting the O line, meaning the sacks with Aiden Hutchinson. The only reason why I disagree with that theory, obviously Baker was off, something was going on, but I don't think he lost trust in his O line because if that was the point, J-Lo, I think we would have seen a lot of balls thrown away more so or thrown in the feet of people instead of him eating the football and him running around with the football, right? If you're afraid of bad blocking, you're probably doing what Brady did in 2012 or 2022 more so, I'm sorry. And that's just getting the ball away far too quickly.
Absolutely. And plus, that also shows how much we miss Luke Gedeke. I think, once he clears concussion protocol, which I think was announced by the great J.C. Allen from Pirates Parlay Sports Illustrated, him being back, maybe they could do some rollouts, to where he can roll out on those 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, and get those quick passes to get a first down and get the tempo going instead of him being in the pocket all the time. Because that's where I think he could be lethal on the rollouts. And plus, Kessler's out there. I mean, I think it's time to get Bucky Irvin more reps. Not saying to take Rashad White out completely because he's great on the 3rd down catches, but it's obvious that Bucky's hitting the holes a lot better, and I think he's going to create more better running plays that help set up the play action and get the ball to Mike and Chris more.
Yeah, I think so. And play action, I want to allude to this as well. Bucky Irvin has been running well. His numbers blow Rashad White's away running wise, J-Lo. But here's the thing to me, and I know a lot of people here have obviously been watching games, have been watching the Bucs, J-Lo, but seemingly for whatever reason, it seems like when Bucky Irvin takes a carry, Liam Cohen whips up a play design that's incredible. Oftentimes Rashad White and Bucky are on the field at the same time, or you see some fake reverse and then Bucky takes it, or Bucky lines up as a receiver, then comes and takes the ball. Whereas when Rashad's running, J-Lo, it's kind of the more vanilla running, the traditional running up the middle, running stretches, draws, and all that nature. Do you think the difference in scheming and play calling is maybe the reason why Bucky Irving has had so much more success to this point on the ground than Rashad White, or have you not really noticed that to this point?
Yeah, I've been noticing he did come up with like 2 really cool plays to get Bucky the ball, and it worked pretty tremendously. And hopefully we'll see more of that because I think it fits Bucky really well. But there also are some run plays where he did hit the hole pretty well. I just feel that Rashad's lost a little confidence and hitting the holes a little bit. But at the same time, there's so much football left. He can still improve. I still believe Rashad's a good back. I'm just feeling he's off to a rough start. But having him and Bucky on the same field at the same time definitely confuses defenses and drives defensive coordinators crazy because you don't know what kind of play you're going to run, either a half-back draw or one of those trip plays he did, or maybe even a fake handoff and then throw a quick pass up the middle to Godwin or Mike. I mean, there's so many things Cohen can do, and I think he's kind of holding those back a little bit and saving them for the bigger games. And at least, losing to the Broncos, it's not a NFC conference loss, so really this loss really doesn't hurt us too bad. It makes us look a little bad, but I'd rather lose to an AFC team than an NFC team.
We also seen Baker pass up a couple of open guys, and we refer to scheming a lot here, J-Lo. It looked like multiple plays. I remember there was a play where Godwin was a little bit open over the middle. He didn't pass it to him and decided to go elsewhere. And then there was one of the plays where he had Rashad White on a screen with a wall of white jerseys in front of him, and Baker didn't do that. So seems like Liam Cohen's still scheming decent plays here and there. Maybe we're not executing those plays. And really, J-Lo, that could have been the difference, right? Week 1 and 2, we executed a lot of those good schemes. Week 3, we may have not been executing some of those schemes. And Liam Cohen does admit himself he may have to get a little bit better in that aspect. But J-Lo, I did see some opportunities on the horizon out there for Baker Mayfield that Liam Cohen did draw up scheme-wise that Baker just didn't take advantage of.
No, he didn't. He can learn from that. I'm pretty sure he went back to the tape whenever he got home. I mean, of course, rest a little bit, spend time with his baby girl. But I feel he has taken some time to look over it, probably chit chat with Liam Cohen as well, and say, hey, we can do better. We can make this work. At least now we can learn from it, and then they'll just practice it this week, and hopefully we'll get some guys back from the injury list.
Yeah, a lot of fans think trouble's on the horizon. It wasn't really in my thought at all. Even when we lost to the Broncos, I don't think trouble is on the horizon. I think the Bucs will weather the storm. By the way, prayers out to everyone who may be affected by the upcoming hurricane in the Tampa Bay and Florida area. Hope everybody remains safe out there. Christopher Cole says the soft zone by our defense was worse than the line play. I agree with that. I think Mock is getting hindered by school out there. J-Lo, thoughts on that? I know Mock let up a couple of sacks, but to me, he looked a hell of a lot better week one with Godecki in there and last year as well when Godecki was next to him, opposed on how he looks with Justin School lined up next to him. But at the end of the day as well, piggyback that with, I was more concerned with the soft zone as well. I think Todd Bowles knows better than that, J-Lo.
Yeah, agreed. Todd will make some questionable calls sometimes, but I still think he's a good coach. Just had a bad day play calling on defense. And as far as the offensive line goes, Cody Mock has struggled, but they all struggled this past Sunday. I think Ben Bredesen gave up like 5 pressure, 1 sack. Cody Mock gave up 2 on 5 pressures. Even our rookie center, Grant Barton, didn't have the best game, but he's a rookie. I want to let that go and not let that ruin him. Cody Mock, I'm just like Rashad White. He's just off to a rough start. But I think once Luke Hideki comes back, I agree. I think he'll be a lot better on the right side, protecting Baker Mayfield and creating holes. It was just not a good game. Even Tristan Wirfs struggled. He got beat a couple times at left tackle. So, overall, that's where I go back to the Broncos. You got to give them a good shout out. They came ready to play, and they came and just took full advantage of our depleted right side of the offensive line by getting pressure on Baker. And I guess that's where I felt Baker probably felt the pressure. And sometimes it gets to you, unfortunately.
It really does get to you sometimes. And we even made multiple calls and coverage calls where Rashad White, that's where his bread's buttered as well. He's a hell of a pass blocker, run protector, blocker. So Rashad White, when I mean run protector, blocker, I mean Baker Mayfield scrambling, Rashad White blocking. He was called in a couple times, and that's still where his bread's buttered. Olivia says, Happy Tuesday, Olive. We love our lady listeners here on the Buccateers. Thanks for joining us. Bud said, how about K-Dot in career high in receptions in a single game? Yes, I believe he had 7 for 47, and that's the thing with Liam Cohen that you're seeing tremendous strides of, J-Lo. Just because you're the biggest name on the team doesn't mean he's going to pass. But what it does mean, if you're an Otten, a Godwin, an Otten, or an Evans, he's going to try and scheme you open, and that's what you saw with Kate Otten this past Sunday. And, again, you might not see the force feeds to some players, but more so if he's scheming you open and you're one of the top guys on the team, you are definitely going to get the ball. And that's what happened this past Sunday. Liam made some good calls. Kate Otten made some good moves, and J-Lo led to Kate Otten one of his better games as a Buccaneer in terms of catch production to this point in time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's good that he's starting to get involved. And you can never have enough pass catchers. They need to get guys like K. Dotton going on those plays. You need to get Jan McMullen more involved. He went off in the first week, and then he kind of just fell down a little bit the last couple of weeks. But you got to get those playmakers involved. Guy was a third-round pick for a reason, and it's starting to show. But I feel he will come around, get him the ball. And I think Kate Otten will start making more plays as well. Just guys scheme and just get ready for the next game.
J-Lo, what cracks me up is that there are Bucs fans who think problems are on the horizon and we should solve those problems by trading for figments of the imagination like Mark Andrews. And by the way, nothing against Mark Andrews, but he's obviously not 100% healthy, running slower right now, not doing it for Baltimore. We have 4 young tight ends on rookie contracts in our tight end room. Where the hell are these people panicking like this from? And then all the Reddick talk, yeah, Reddick wouldn't be bad, but again, my point is he did it to the Eagles, he did it to the Jets, he's holding out, and I don't think the Bucs are in a position right now to shell out money mid-season at least to an edge rusher that might not be fully committed to this team. This offseason comes and you find a nice free agent. That's a different story to me, J-Lo. But do you think problems really on the horizon that bad where you got all these crybaby Bucs fans or quote unquote podcasters out there crying for Mark Andrews and for Hassan Reddicks of the world on a daily basis?
I mean, Hassan Reddick would be a nice addition, but the problem is he's been out of football for quite some time, and I just don't want to risk giving up a third-round pick, which is premium to us, and plus paying him top dollar for the next 2-3 years when you got other guys you want to pay like Chris Godwin. I mean, I just feel it's too late now to trade for Hassan Reddick. And as far as Mark Andrews, I'm fine with the young group we got. I think Kadon will get it going, knows the playbook. And then plus, the other gentleman, Payne Durham, he made a couple of nice little catches. So you just got to give it time with those guys. You know, you can't just trade in the whole NFL, trade for everybody. I just wouldn't panic right now. I mean, like I said, yeah, we lost to a Broncos team that's not very good. But at the same time, it's week 3, y'all, and we're 2-1. It's not like we're 0-3 or 1-2. That's the best scenario. You got to look at it. Yeah, we got a tough stretch, but as we get healthier and we get our guys back, we will perform a lot better to where we can get our young pass rushers in there and get after the quarterback. You know, maybe throw in a Watts in there or throw in a Jose Ramirez, get these two in there to kind of help out with the slack. You know, because JTS is the only one that's getting close to the quarterback more than the others. So, you know, you could tell he's trying to earn his money. And then Yaya Diaby, you know, I'm a little shocked that, you know, he didn't get 2 or 3 sets in the last game. You know, with the backup right tackle, you'd think he would have the advantage. But unfortunately, you know, just right now, like I said about the others, like a Cody Mock and the other one as well.
Rashad White,
thank you. They're all to like, you know, slow starts. But it takes time. You got to give it time.
Takes time, especially when your aim not only is the playoffs, J-Lo, but at this point, their aim is for higher expectations, at least NFC Championship, you would think, after winning a playoff game last year at home against the Eagles. And now we get revenge against the Eagles again, or they're looking for revenge against us, or we're looking for revenge against them from last year regular season, however the hell you're looking at it. We did upend them in the playoffs. But J-Lo, one thing we got to look out for this Sunday is the fans of Philly. Again, that place is going to be loud in terms of Philly fans. A lot of Denver fans were there this past week. You could expect the same this Sunday with Eagles fans. They love taking over, AJ. So our team's going to have to be prepared for that. They're going to have to be ready to, you know, not a road environment, but they're going to have to be ready to potentially not be able to lean on home field advantage, which sadly seems like a commonplace these days for the Bucs outside of the heat condition, which to me, the Bucs have to take better advantage of, right? You had Bo Nix facing the heat last week. Now you're going to have an Eagles team coming in who likes to run a lot of fast-paced offense. Take advantage of that and, you know, shut them down and really make them run a lot of plays, not get a lot of yardage out there and make them sweat their asses off and give yourself a home field advantage. If the crowd ain't going to be a home field advantage for you, at least turn the temperature up, no pun intended, and make the weather conditions a home field advantage. Because right now, J-Lo, without the crowd being all behind the Bucs all the time, we don't really have a big home field advantage in the Bay. And to me, that went wrong in week 3, and that could be another factor when the Eagles come to town. I was at Eagles-Bucs last year, not the playoff game, but regular season. Felt like a great amount of Eagles fans in there. So to me, J-Lo, if you're not going to have the crowd at your dispense, use the heat to your advantage. And we do that by wearing white at home, but you could even take that a step further and defensively strategize and make him peel out a little bit more, make him run a little more plays, make him tire out more. So especially the big boys up front, both in the trenches on each side of the ball for the opposing team. When it feels like 100 or 100 plus after the humidity in Tampa, things get hot, things get heavy in a hurry out there, J-Lo. And to me, the Bucs have to try and find a way to utilize their home field advantage at Raymond James Stadium more. So we saw it last year, and now we saw it against the Broncos. To me, we have to take advantage of that, much so like we did with the Commandos, J-Lo. Look at that. We forced Jaden Daniels to run a lot, didn't give up a lot through the air. And I know Jaden Daniels torched us on the ground, much like Bo Nix did. And by the way, Saturday, that's what I said in our pre-show. Watch out for Bo Nix and his scrambling ability. But at the end of the day, at least if you're making him scramble for chunk plays here, chunk plays there, and you're not letting up a lot through the air, you're going to tire out the quarterback. You're going to tire out the offense more. So we just didn't see the Bucs take advantage of the heat this past weekend, J-Lo. And really, we need to start pressing for some sort of home field advantage, or else the 8 to 9 home games a year aren't going to be in the Bucs' favor much longer against a lot of these teams with deep-rooted fan bases in the Tampa area.
Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of green in that stadium, 1 o'clock game. But luckily, here's some other fun facts. They're dealing with injuries too. They may be without both their starting receivers, with A.J. Brown with the hammy. Those hammies don't heal overnight. It takes time for them to overcome it. So even if he does play, he won't be 100%. And then Devontae Smith and concussion protocols, so, those are hard to get through at times. And Lane Johnson, their starting right tackle, he's another one, concussion. So that's where the Bucs need to take advantage of these injured players not being in the game and get to the quarterback. And the good thing about Todd Bowles, he's very good at adjusting the second time when he's playing the same player. Because last year, Jalen Hurts had a field day on us in week 3, had a hard time stopping the run for one thing, and Saquon's been a monster this year so far. So hopefully having one of our D tackles back would be helpful, stopping the run and forcing Jaden to throw the ball. But when the Bucs played the Eagles in the wild card game, I was there live. They played inspired football. They just shut down Jalen Hurts, didn't give him many opportunities. And that's the good thing about Bowles is he knows how to play against Hurts. He knows how to scheme against them and all that. It's just the players got to come whole and finish their pressures and get the sack or force a turnover. So we'll see as the week goes. If the Eagles be without at least 2 out of the 3, it betters our chances, and they just got to take advantage of it, because those are star players to me. Shut down Saquon, keep him behind the line of scrimmage, and on the pass game too. So it'll be interesting to see what Bowles does to adjust depending who comes back from the injury. But I think the Eagles game, we'll see a better effort out of this team.
And I'm hoping that either J.J. Russell or Servace Dennis get a little more play opportunity than K.J. Britt. Again, J-Lo, we're going to be facing a scrambling quarterback this week in Jalen Hurts. And if it holds true with all those injuries, like you said, they might be without Brown. They might be without Devontae. They might be without a couple other weapons on their hands. It may hurt that team a lot in terms of pushing the ball downfield. The next thing you know, Jalen Hurts is going to run around a lot and look for Dallas Goedert, the tight end check down option, who had a big week last week. And yep, Bud says the same. He had 170 yards last week. So J-Lo, if they're without their wide receivers, you're really going to have to, keep the QB in a clamp, which we haven't done 2 of the first 3 weeks. We did a great job on Goff, although he's not a scrambling quarterback. But between Nix and Daniels, they were really scrambling on us. That's something we can't let happen against Jalen Hurts. Is, to me, he's a better scrambler than both of the rookie QBs, Nix and Daniels. Nothing against him. They're showing they could run the football, but Hurts is next level. So we got to be prepared for that. And to me, KJ Britt is a little bit too slow to be a quarterback spy out there, J-Lo. I feel much more safe if Servace Dennis or J.J. Russell were in on the downs where we plan on utilizing QB spies at the very least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To me, you got to get Dennis more involved. I want to see a lot more of that kid in there. He's much more quicker. He did get faked out by the goal line where Nitz ran it in, but it happens. He's finally getting a lot of playing time because he was hurt mostly last year and then throughout the preseason this year. So I think he can improve a lot better to where he can be the starter and Britt can be the reserve. No disrespect to Britt, but, he's just not as quick. And we need somebody that's a little bit quicker that's going to get the pressure and get to the quarterback, get their hole. And here's another thing to the Philadelphia defense. They got like 2 or 3 rookie corners. We got to take advantage and get the ball to Mike. You got to get the ball to Mike. You got to get the ball to Chris, expose those rookie DBs. And I think Darius Slay was hurt last week as well. So, like I said, depending on what his injury is, I didn't really look too deep into it. But that's where you got to take advantage and utilize your receivers. Get the ball to Mike, your playmaker, get the ball to Chris. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting all around. Even though we're dealing with a lot of injuries, but so is Philly. So, it really evens the odds on that. But yes, I do agree. More Dennis, some JJ Russell to kind of help push KJ Britt to play better.
One other thing with Baker Mayfield from this past week, J-Lo, I think, he did have some nice success last year and this year, and don't get me wrong, great scrambling quarterback at times when the pocket does collapse and you need him, but maybe now you're seeing him try and press the envelope a little bit too much on the scrambling front, J-Lo. Maybe he thinks he's the athlete, maybe he thinks he's a Lamar type, because some of the plays, I just watched a video shared by the great Evan Winter. You see Mike Evans running wide open, and instead of trying to throw it up to Evans, you see Baker do a hitch fake and then try and run for it and getting negative yards or no yards at the line. So, J-Lo, do you think that's part of the problem as well, as we are here live on the Buccateers Tampa Tones alongside the great J-Lo live on YouTube, Facebook, and more? Catch a instant replay on Apple, Spotify, and so much more as well. But, J-Lo, before we take a look at the NFC South in general, do you think Baker may be trusting his legs a little bit too much?
I would think so. He might be. I just felt he got shook a little bit during the Broncos game, thinking he had to do a little bit too much. Even on one of the plays, he kind of took a little bit longer to try to throw the ball to Godwin on fourth down. He had to do like a fake handoff and kind of like stuttered a little bit, and then he threw the ball a little bit behind Chris. Chris should have caught the ball. It was a little bit behind him, but when you're getting paid $20 million a year, you gotta make those catches. And Baker, I feel like, took a little bit longer to throw the football. And even he admitted he's got to do a little bit better, not hanging onto the ball too long and get rid of it.
Yeah, and we'll see if that happens. I think it does against the Eagles. He showed great strides last year in the playoff game opposed to the regular season game. But the Eagles are going to have the same mindset we had against the Lions. Hey, these are the guys that ruined our season last year. They're going to be looking to do the same to us like we did to the Lions. I really do believe that. Injured Buck to return. We'll get to that here shortly on the Buccateers. Don't go anywhere, and we'll talk about a potential Buck star returning to the lineup very soon. Speaking of soon, J-Lo, the Bucs could be in first place in the NFC South alone soon, and that's if they win this Sunday and the Saints happen to lose this Sunday. Falcons, Panthers, a game trailing. Right now, Saints are in first technically at 2-1 because of the division win. Bucs are tied for first at 2-1. Then the Falcons and Panthers each at 1-2. Thoughts on the NFC South through 3 weeks, J-Lo, as we're joined by the great Emily. She says you can't say I didn't tell you. Hopefully we didn't start a downward spiral. I don't think so, Emily. Thanks for tuning in. We love having you. As always, you're a great one, Emily. So thanks for being great and thanks for joining us. I don't think it starts a downward spiral, though, but it starts with playing effective football this week. And really, J-Lo, we can't afford to play ill-advised football so far the way the NFC South has been, the way the Saints have been playing.
Absolutely. I mean, Atlanta to me is still kind of a fraud situation. They're on paper good-looking football team, but there's a lot of things that they're missing too. So I'm not really threatened by Cousins. I mean, I feel like he was competitive against the Chiefs. I think he's kind of gaining more confidence, but I'm not too stressed on them. I think they're very beatable. And the Saints, I feel, got exposed by the Eagles as well after putting 40 points on the Cowboys. But you see the Cowboys are 1-2. They're just not off to a really good start as well. You got to look at those things. I mean, yeah, they pound a depleted Panther football team who actually won their first game against the Raiders, but the Raiders are another one. I mean, anyone can win on a given day, But at the same time, I think with the Saints, I think they're going to begin to struggle, and they're dealing with injuries too. They just lost their starting center for a few weeks with a groin injury. So we'll see how the line, stats up whenever we play them in a couple of weeks. But for the most part, I feel it's going to be a fun back-to-back week between playing Atlanta on the road and then playing New Orleans Nets on the road. I feel we could go 1-1. I feel we're going to split with both teams in the division, but I still think we're the better team.
And Falcons are losing O-line starters. They lost 2 offensive linemen due to injury this week, J-Lo. Saints lost their really good center, McCoy, due to injury. So as the Bucs might be getting healthier, we'll explain here in a minute on the offensive line, both the Saints and Falcons are taking a step back in health on the offensive line. Falcons losing 2 offensive line starters, Saints losing 1. And really, J-Lo, neither of those teams could afford to lose offensive linemen as their running backs play such crucial parts of their teams. Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams for the Saints, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson for the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an injury-plagued season. There's been a lot of injuries going around. Like teams with the Niners too, they lost a lot of players. I don't know. I don't even think they're going to recover, truthfully, but that's another discussion. But back to the injuries with the Saints and Falcons, it's very unfortunate because their linemen are going to be out. We most likely will not see them when we play on those back-to-back weeks, which benefits us as we get healthy. That's why when it comes to injuries to your teams, you'd rather deal with it early and let them heal. And then when they are ready, not being forced to rush back in, then they can be productive. Injuries happen. It's the NFL. It just really depends who stays healthy and who doesn't. And unfortunately, our D line's probably the most depleted right now with both our 2 guys out.
Yeah, I think so. And if you look at the NFC South this week, the Panthers are at home against the Bengals at 1 o'clock Eastern. They look really good with Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, and hard not to be an upgrade. But you know how that veteranship goes in a game or two. He'll crash back to earth. But Panthers took a step forward this past week. And then one good thing for the Bucs, J-Lo, Saints and Falcons do beat each other up this week. So we'll see what happens there. And we'll see if the Saints and Eagles scores were flukes last week. Pops writes in, it texted in, hey, is the low score fluke? We talked a little bit about it earlier, but to me, J-Lo, it's simple. As you said, Eagles are banged up right now. And as I said, you got to contain Hurts. I think the Saints did both of those things pretty well. Obviously, not enough to win the ball game, but if you contain Hurts and the Eagles do remain banged up heading into this one, sure, Barkley and Goddard may get their big chunk plays, but as long as you keep them out of the end zone, I think you're going to see a similar low-scoring Eagles team, much like we just saw this past week in New Orleans.
Exactly. It's all about, like you said, containing Jalen Hurts, keep him in the pocket, put the heat on him. I mean, you're gonna have to get pressure and do better than what you did the last game. If now we're gonna have a repeat all over again and being down by 2 or 3 scores, we're not gonna be able to climb our way back in. Because Philadelphia does have a strong D line with 2 of the Georgia boys in the middle, the edge rushers. But at the same time, getting healthy is important. I think we're getting one back. It's going to be a bit beneficial in the run game and the pass game. I think once Luke Gedecki comes back, which it will be this week, I know we're going to wait to announce it, but I feel once he's back in the lineup this Sunday, we're going to see a bigger difference in the offense, I feel, compared to the last couple weeks.
Christopher Cole says Saints in Atlanta a couple games. Bucs might get delayed. It doesn't look like it, but Hurricane might play that big of a factor. You never know if you're a Florida or coastal team right now. You really got to be on the lookout because, as we know, sometimes, sadly, weathermen say things are going to hit one spot. They end up hitting a completely different spot. Speaking of hitting a spot, J-Lo, Tom Brady is hitting the 8-1-3 this weekend as he takes his talents back to Tampa on the football field for the first time since he's became a broadcast booth guy. And I think he's done a pretty damn good job so far. I listened to his first game last week, Baltimore, Dallas, not his first game, but the first game I listened to of his. So, J-Lo, thoughts on Tom Brady coming to town to announce Bucs Eagles? I'm very excited about this. I think it should be a fun little broadcast crew we got. And Tom Brady was on the field for the Bucs. Now he's behind a mic for the Bucs. Shout out to Ed Rabasa joining us live on Facebook as well. But Bud Cannabis also says should be rolling through Thursday, Central Florida anyway. So that's good. At least it should be out by the weekend. But J-Lo, thoughts on Tom Brady coming to town, not as Santa Claus this time, but in the broadcast booth?
Oh, it's going to be fun. I also tuned in on him commentating the Dallas and Baltimore game. I think he did a good job. I know some people have their opinions on him on that, but it'll be exciting to see him back in Ray J, where he made a lot of history over there, and hearing his, you know, commentating on some of our Buck players. I know he's a big Mike Evans fan. I know him and Evans are really close, and then him probably saying good things about Baker. It'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the A13 commentating and probably rooting for us.
What the hell? Cleveland me texted in. I think my comment was skipped. Maybe he's living the good life, J-Lo, because we brought up his Happy Tuesday comment and talked about it. But nonetheless, he's in Victory Tuesday mode, a Colts guy, Joey Nips from the Saturday Showdown. So, he's probably not paying attention too well. But we did give you a shout out, bud, if you were tuned in. Speaking of tuned in, you are tuned into the Buccateers live here, as we got a couple more segments left to go on the show. J-Lo and Tampa Tones taking y'all through a Taco Tuesday as we get you guys ready for Bucs Eagles with the Tune Me Up Tuesday, as we was exploring in here. We go exploring even more injured Buck to return. J-Lo, you named him earlier. J-Lo, give us the man from the great JC Allen, our great buddy over at Sports Illustrated. Give us the man JC Allen referred to as potentially being back this weekend, and it's really good news for the Bucs if he is.
Drum roll, please. I'm just kidding. No, I'm excited. JC announced about 3 hours ago, I believe, that Luke Gadecki will clear concussion protocol. Will start practicing to start prepping for the Philadelphia Eagles coming Sunday. So that right there alone, to me, is a big get back, who we need, who's probably going to help the protection a lot better, because Justin School, unfortunately, he's just not a starter. He could be a reserve swing tackle, back up to certain games, but having Gadecki back is a huge plus, and I think he'll help improve Cody Mott's game a little bit better, help motivate him a little better, try to help coach him up, when you're next to that one tackle, they work together to try to protect Baker and create holes for the running back. But shout out to JC Allen when he announced it from Pirates Parlay, Sports Illustrated. The guy's just clutch every single time, and he just, he's a great reporter, man. I'm really happy to call him a friend, because he's very awesome and open to helping talk to anybody on the spaces and all that.
Yeah, and I will say this, J-Lo. Guess what? Some people might not care, but J-Lo, we do have hockey back tonight in the Bay as well for those interested, and those, still wanting to wash your mouth of the little Bucs debacle this past Sunday. You have Lightning Puck Drop, J-Lo, first preseason game tonight, 7 o'clock against the Hurricanes, and no more Steven Stamkos in the building.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the team plays. I am excited for Jake Gensel. I think he's a big addition. Will add more speed, better defense, in a 5-on-5. I feel letting Steven Stamkos walk was probably one of the hardest decisions. Not only the general manager, Bruce Francois, but also the ownership. They do have a bit saying that, but they're putting their trust in JBB to put together for another championship run. Shout out to Victor Hedman becoming the captain. Well deserved. If there was anybody I would have picked, it would be him. I feel like he's going to do a good job leading this team this year. And I think we got a strong shot to make another run or two. We still got a lot of core players that are studs if they stay healthy. Plus, having Vasilevsky back at the start of the season, because last year he had back surgery, I felt that definitely contributed to his slow start and struggles in the playoffs. But I think now, him being healthy, I think we're going to get the 2020 to 21 not Victor Hedman, Andre Vasilevsky back at goalie, to where we don't give up so many easy shots.
And
but we'll
shout
see.
out,
Go ahead.
Shout out to El Monito joining us on Facebook as well. As much as I'd love to continue Lightning talk, we will be talking Lightning this year. I just want to ask you one thing quick, J-Lo. Jake Gensel, excited for him. I think he's going to be a good player. And, I do agree that it stings losing Stamkos, but definitely a business decision, and I don't think it's a bad business decision. And then Bud says Hedman was the obvious choice for captain. I think so. I don't think you really had another choice. But J-Lo, quick thoughts on the new acquisition of the Lightning. And then Cleveland Me says this was kind of said, but my comment was how it's wild. Fans 4 and 7 wanted everyone like Bowles and Baker gone, then love them after Lions. And yeah, J-Lo, my tweet alluded to it yesterday as well. We've talked about it from time to time, but the Bucs fan base is fickle. You know, I even tweeted after beating the Lions, it's all lollipops and sunshine, and then you lose to Denver, and next thing you know, people are calling you, a hack and a joke and whatnot.
I mean, yeah, I mean, fans are going to turn on you when you lose to a bad football team, but it happens, and for them to talk about Bowles, that's nothing new to us, Tones. I think you and I are the only one in the group that stayed behind the Bucs, when we were 4 and 7. I was a little bitter on Bowles, but at the same time, I was like, well, you know what? Let him finish the season. We'll see what happens. You can't just give up on a coach, and look what he's done. The players want to play for him. And that's what fans keep forgetting. The players love Bowles. The ownership loves Bowles. They're not going to fire him in the middle of the season. And even if we have a little down season, I don't see him getting fired.
Yeah, well,
I think he's earned his spot in Tampa. But anyway, but back to the fans. They're just funny sometimes, and that's fine. Like I said, the real fans are the real fans, and they know that Bowles is a good coach, and we're happy to have him here.
J-Lo, like you said, me and you were two of the only people that put the forks in the ground and say, hold on, this man still has a path to the playoffs last year at 4 and 7. Little did the Bucs fans know that wanted him fired. We end up making the playoffs, not only making the playoffs, but beating the Eagles. And right now we're unhealthy. But as we alluded to, Luke Godecki should be back this weekend, and maybe one of the big boys defensively as well. You never quite know. Antoine Winfield would be a welcome sight back. But between Winfield, Vita Vea, Elijah Canty, Luke Godecki, and more people missing with injuries right now, we're going to be fine, Bucs fans. Relax. And Godecki himself coming back, which J.C. Allen alluded to, is looking like a pretty good chance. That would be fantastic to happen later this week. Speaking of later this week, the Buccateers schedule usually live on Thursdays with Gene. Last week it was on a Wednesday with the great KB and J-Lo, but usually it's Thursdays with Gene, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Be on the lookout there. Then once again, our Saturday showdown, weekend of football kickoff show will be live yet again, 10:30 a.m. Eastern this Saturday, leading you up to college football, 11:55 a.m. Eastern time. Those have been a ton of fun as well, J-Lo. Speaking of fun, it was a fun show, but as we all know, all fun things, all good things come to an end. J-Lo, what are your thoughts and what are your final words for the program on a Taco Tune Me Up Tuesday as we put Denver in the rear view and we put Philly on the map right in front of us?
Final thoughts is we moved on from Denver, dealt with the hangover Monday is what I call it, and that loss.
And overreaction Monday for a reason.
Absolutely. And the real Bucs fans that are behind Todd Bowles and want this team to get better, and I think they will. I'm not stressing that much on this game. I do believe we'll see Winfield in the lineup this weekend because he was running, jogging, in practice on the side last week. So don't be surprised if he gets cleared to play on Sunday. I think we'll have him back in the DB lineup room, which would give Izzian back at nickel, where I think he, plays probably his best football there because safety, he got a little exposed, but it's okay. Winfield back, I think, will contribute that, but that's another discussion when it gets reported. But just hang in there, folks, one game at a time. And back to the Lightning, they're bad, baby. Go Bolts.
My final word is this: Mike Evans, don't be afraid of him. He is getting 43.5% separation right now on all of his routes ran. That's good for third best in the National Football League. So if Baker finds him a little more, throws to him a little more, I think more completions happen. But right now, Liam Cohen is scheming his guys open. We've seen it with Auden last week. We see it with Evans' separation rate. We see it with Godwin's production thus far. That means nothing but great things to come. And Tampa peeps, as we alluded to, Lightning start tonight, puck drop, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. in just 12 short minutes. From Lightning Hockey being back, wow, that offseason flew by. And then Buccateers Thursday night with Gene from Buck What You Heard, and Saturday morning on our Saturday Showdown Weekend of Football kickoff show with Joey Nips and other great guests as well. But on behalf of Huncho, A-Cats, Stunna, and Bucko tonight, it was J-Lo and myself. I just remembered Cats. I wonder where he was, but we'll reach out to him and see if we could get him back. Get Mike interview with Casey Phillips, Total Access. Yeah, today I know was Edwards, our outside linebackers coach, was a coach interviewed with Casey Phillips today. So always fun seeing Casey Phillips do good interviews. I know what you meant, but he was great. And then Edwards today was great, I really thought as well. Again, our outside linebackers coach and Mike Evans, two great interviews. Todd Bowles, said they looked like they were ready in practice, and then things happened and it didn't translate to the field. But we'll see when or what happens in the coming weeks, days, months ahead for this Bucs team. I think they rebound starting with the W this Sunday in Philly. We'll talk about it more. As Richard says, just getting off work, happy Taco Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday to you as well, Richard. Feel free to rewind and join us on the YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google, or more on this Tune Me Up Taco Tuesday with the Buccateers. We want to give a special shout out to Bud Cannibalist, to Joey Nips, Olive, Amelie, Richard for joining us, Christopher Cole, our guy, and so many more great contributors today's Taco Tuesday, Tune Me Up Tuesday as well. We'll see you guys Thursday with the great Gene. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bucs. Touchdown Tampa Bay. J-Lo, you have a great night, brother. I'll be talking to you soon, my friend.
Yes, sir, man. Take care, man. Go Bucs.
You too. Go Bucs, J-Lo. We'll see you guys on the next show. Thank you, everybody, for joining. See you later on behalf of the Buccateers. Love you all. See ya. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bucs, go Bucs. Devin Culp over the middle. You are ridiculous. Touchdown. Bucs beat the Eagles. Thank you. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera